Welcome to the Ageless Pursuit Project.
Hey, welcome everybody to today's episode of the Ageless Pursuit Project. I'm super excited to have my co-host again, Cody Small. Thank you so much. And today I would like to introduce our latest guest, Megan Gasper, wellness expert, multifaceted wellness wellness individual. So what I would like to do is, we talked briefly before, and there's a lot to unpack there. So what I would like to do is, that's my quick introduction, but also just turn it over to you to welcome you to the podcast and give you a moment to say hi, and also a brief introduction of who you are and kind of your overall bio.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Honestly, I'm nervous because I'd rather perform in front of somebody. Movement is my jam. So talking is one of those things that I'm like, oh gosh. But I'm excited to be uncomfortable so that we can get real. I do have about 27 years of fitness and wellness background. I have 83 certifications in multiple things. Yeah, it just means I'm old. And then
Not at all.
But I love the human body. I think it's the greatest masterpiece on this planet, and it completely just blows my mind every time I learn something new. So I have a wealth of knowledge that I've actually accumulated on my own because of my own journey, from a stance of healing from cancer to biohacking my own hormones, and in a wellness space with women, which is something that I think it needs to be more at the forefront, because I think that we have undertreated women for so long with hormones, and they are in a space where they could really benefit. I mean, ever since, I'm going on tangents. I told you, I warned you.
Tangents are good.
We love them.
Ever since the Women's Health Initiative in 2002, when they came out with that study that testosterone was bad for women, things have changed in my space and my health alone. So I kind of want to provide an impactful way for women to change their lives through their own discovery of their own wellness through hormones and movement. So I don't know. But anyways, I teach dance fitness for the most part. That is the love of my life, and strength training. But I have my own studio in Coeur d'Alene, and I've been active for, like I said, 27 years, creating an own space for women who are in the pursuit of living well and healthy.
Oh, that's
Great
really cool.
tie into the name of the the podcast.
Good at segues.
There's a lot to dive into there.
Yeah.
So first of all, you said that you're a cancer survivor?
Correct.
We have two right here.
Yeah.
Look at you two. That's
As
awesome.
well.
So real quick, I want to get into a lot of the details there that you just talked about, but I also like to always start with our guests, like the origin story. So what got you into this?
Oh, we could go back to childhood, but we won't go back that far. At the age of 30, I had some issues going on bowel-wise, and I was an avid runner, marathoning, but I had some, and I hope this isn't too frank, but I can talk about poop all day because I had colon cancer, okay?
Hey, it's all about being frank in here.
Yeah.
Well, I had blood in my stool, and it coincided with my long run, so I never thought anything about it, because it's very normal for you to have bleeding in your gut when you long run. So I never paid any mind to it, and so it went on for years. I was a marathoner and ultra distance runner. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part of my life.
Rad.
But I finally got to a point where, narrowing a stool and things that were changing biology-wise, and so finally I had to go to the doctor and be like, something's going on. So during my process, and I can only talk about this shortly because of legal reasons, I was infected with Hep C in my diagnosis, and and so then I had a resection of my colon, removed the glands around there so that I didn't have any lymph nodes, anything that to spread, and never had to do chemo, but I did have Hep C. So then I went into 2.5 years at the age of 35, found out that I had Hep C, went into 2.5 years of interferon and ribavirin treatment because I failed twice, and then I had to wait until the new medication came out. So that's really where my story starts as far as health goes.
Yeah, two traumatic experiences that...
wasn't necessarily the colon cancer.
Right.
It was the Hep C that created havoc in my body. And then trying to fix my liver, my thyroid, all of the hormones that get jacked up, didn't have a libido, all those things went away, and pretty much quality of life. So I would work out forever. I was just choked. I'm like, I'm going to have to run forever and eat nothing to lose a pound because I could not sustain my effort and my aesthetics did not match it. And so I was super frustrated. And then that's kind of where my own journey into like biohacking myself started.
That's such a cool theme. Multiple people we have talked to, it's been something traumatic that happens either to them or a family member that is a catalyst to them doing deeper research and understanding, like, well, the resources that have been provided to me from a traditional standpoint aren't working. They seem to be kind of shrugging their shoulders. What can I do from a research standpoint to understand my body better and how to get, like, this can't be the only way. Like, it's so interesting. Like, a lot of people we've talked to have had that same sort of thing, whether it's, issues with thyroid or like Connie's son with his
the ADHD.
Yeah, the ADHD stuff, and healing it through more preventative measures and diving in and doing deep research. So from there, what was the next step? Like, after those two horrible pieces of news and throwing a wrench in, I'm sure it threw a wrench in your ultra marathoning too.
I had just found out that I had Hep C when I was doing my last ultra. And so I kind of use that as motivation because that's who I am. Like, mindset over anything, I feel like. But yeah, it was really a blessing, I have to say, like, going through those things, because I don't think I would have ever had a sex drive. Like, so that's like huge, right? I mean, I don't think as women we talk about that either. It's not normal to not have a sex drive. And I think women have been in that space where, like, oh, we don't need that. That's a male issue. Because how long has the blue pill been out, right? So we talk about that all the time. But yeah, I just it triggered something in me to seek help. And I had a girlfriend, she's my best friend, and she because it causes marital problems too. Like, my poor husband, like we're almost 26 years, and I haven't had a sex drive for that long. I'm like 49, and now I'm like 18 again in that department. So it's good. But anyway, so she had severe, she had trained, competed bodybuilding, seriously dumped her adrenal glands, and she had to seek help. So it was her helping me find a practitioner who actually knew what they were doing. Because here's another space. I don't know if you guys know how hard it is for women to get hormone therapy, but it is not something you can just go to your doctor. And so for me, I had to find that one person that would actually listen to me and not think that I'm crazy and not say, hey, we're not going to treat any of this stuff. We're going to actually look at you as a whole person and figure things out. I was 42 and finally diagnosed with PCOS. 42.
What's PCOS?
PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It is an insulin resistancy hormonal issue.
Okay, insulin resistance.
So there lied all of those problems where I never could lose weight. Nothing would change. The scale would not tip, and I starve myself and work out constantly, and nothing would shift. So that was number one. And then all the other hormonal things that go inside with that, because your progesterone, your estrogen, and your testosterone all are affected by insulin. So then he fixed me. He is one of those people that listened, and he's looked at all the numbers, not just the ones that we normally run. He looked at my totals and my frees and my reverse T3s and my insulin levels and my sex binding hormone, everything. And finally, it took a couple years. Yeah. Because I want you to know that it's not like a sudden fix. Things there's gears, right? They're all working with these gears, and one can be spinning fast, and this one over here is not, but they're all connected. So you have to get them to actually spin at the same time in the same pattern, and that takes a while. And so people get frustrated too. I've talked to several women who get frustrated because they're not getting those fixed fast enough, but you just have to stay the course.
Wow.
But
that's interesting.
There's a lot, right?
No, that's
really
but
interesting. One
of the things you said, I think we've heard from a lot of our guests, is that when it comes to finding support, right, it is a process to figure out, because what happens is, and whether you're talking about Western medicine or Eastern medicine, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to go through the process of finding the resources that are going to work for you, right? And you mentioned somebody that's going to listen to you, and and hear your feedback and provide that into the loop as far as the treatment or the protocol and so on. And a lot of times I think what we hear from end users, people that just out there, like, they don't get that experience, right? And so a lot of times it's a trial and error, trial and failure, but more failure side of it, because they go to a doctor, they go talk to this person and it's not them. They go to this one and it's not them. So for you, I mean, obviously you had the benefit of a good friend that connected the dots for you, but for those folks that maybe don't have that resource, or that person that can just, sort of pave the way, how would you best recommend somebody like go through the process of finding that resource for them?
Well, first of all, it's education. So I will back up. I did see someone prior to that, and I was with her for about 2 to 3 years, and it was not working. Nothing was changing. And so finally I was like, and I had to do telehealth because my doctor is in Utah.
Okay.
So, but he's an expert in it. He's been doing it for a while. He has the certifications. It's not just, I took this course and I took this class, but they have to understand how everything plays together. I would say interview them. Like, ask them, what tests are you going to run? I don't want to just see total testosterone. I want to see free. I don't want to just see...
so you had to educate yourself.
Oh, yeah. I had to educate myself, which sucks. Like, that's horrible for the normal woman to be. I mean, we don't know. And what you don't know is you don't know. Like, I don't know how to tell women to go and do that without them having to do their own self-discovery and looking it up. And then the internet's a mucky mess, like, and then you go down these rabbit holes of, I just need to take this and I need to take this. And it's not that way. So my first thing would be to educate yourself on what tests you actually need to have. And it's a different set of tests than they just normally run. You don't want to see your estradiol because that fluctuates. You need to see your total estradiol at specific, like when your follicular stages, your luteal stages, like you need to know those things, as well as your free testosterone and your sex binding hormone, because those play a lot into how much actual testosterone you're using versus it just floating around in your blood. Those are things that a lot of doctors do not test for. They don't test for free, and they don't test for sex binding hormone, which are huge.
Yeah.
DHEA. There's another one they don't usually test for. DHEA is the precursor for testosterone or cortisol. Like, if you don't know that, you're not going to ask to have that tested. So I think there's a huge gap between what Western medicine does and functional side does, and then, Eastern medicine. But it's because I think we live in this, I'm not going to go conspiracy theory, but, we live in this world where they just want to throw a medication at you.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch TV all the time. You got hot flashes? Let's throw this medication at you. And I'm like, no, just get your hormones balanced and you won't have a hot flash. Like, that will go away. But it's very frustrating for women because they have been told for so long that this is just something you have to go through. Like, it's just part of the change. It's part of your life. Well, that's BS.
Especially for women in your, exactly, that perimenopausal range, right?
I will never go through menopause because I will never let myself get so depleted of those hormones to cause those problems.
Amazing.
That's where I stand on. And I will shout that from the tallest rooftops or even the shortest ones. I tell women all the time, get your hormones checked, make sure they're checking these levels, and then if they don't even know what those are, that's a red flag. That is a red flag in the hormone space if you don't know what DHEA is or sex binding hormone is. Like, if you don't know what those are, you should not be practicing functional medicine.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, we have now, the AI revolution, right? So you have ChatGPT, which doesn't have all the answers, but it will paint a picture for you, right? And I've seen people use it in that respect, not as quick disclaimer for folks listening and watching, not as your medical provider,
right?
But as a template or a reference point of like, what is it that I should be? Because I think that's a hard, like, I would say this. I would say, Megan, a lot of people aren't like you, where you're a very, you come across as a very person like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm not going to let this thing beat me, right? That's super rad. Like, that's a great character trait. For a lot of people that don't have that, or aren't just sort of innately built that way, it's hard because I think the overwhelm is real, right? Yes. And so, and I think that, you have to find bits and pieces and resources. And I think, not only like ChatGPT or whatever, if you're going that, but listening to podcasts like this, right? Things that you can find on the internet where you have subject matter experts, which in my opinion isn't always only the person that went to Harvard or Yale or whatever. It's the people that, like, that you've been in the trenches, you've lived this, right? And that's where I think for us, a lot of our folks that we've had on the episode, on episodes, that's where they're coming from real world experience in the trenches, whether it's a personal story like Connie or yourself, or practitioners that are dealing with these types of things like at the street level, if you will, every single day. So I think that, you know, if anybody listening or watching, what I would encourage them is information is power, right? And yes, there is good and bad information, and ultimately you have to begin to flesh that out. But you have to begin the process of empowering yourself to say, I'm going to learn as much as I can, and lean in on people, again, within your own community that maybe they're going, like you had a friend that connected the dots. So having those, what I would say is having those transparent, intimate conversations with the people that you know, like, and trust that are around you, I would imagine that you're going to uncover opportunities to where you can go maybe to that next step or speak to this person or meet with that person or what have you.
Yeah, I would suggest that women not be silent. That's what I would suggest, is if you have an issue that you are fighting or struggling with yourself, 100 times over, there's somebody else doing the same thing, and we're just not talking about it, especially in the women's space. The female health space is just not talked about as much as we are as men. I'm sorry, I love you both. But we have not deep
But even that's been a new thing, even in the male community, right? That's not always been the case as well. But women are, it's interesting. Yeah, they're a bit more. It's like guys aren't really. We're like open, but we're not. But yet the dialogue is totally different. I would have expected the female community to like really open up and like have this sort of like community mind around this, and they're really not. They're just silent sufferers.
Well, we're silent sufferers because that's what we've been told to do.
Yeah.
Society has told us that you're just supposed to deal with it.
Oh, you're just going through.
You're going through the change. You're just going through the change.
My mom went through it. My grandma went through it.
Yeah, it's just what happens to women. Well, no. But I really, if I could give one suggestion, I know a lot of that was hard for maybe some people to comprehend, but yeah, start talking about it, because you'll find that somebody else is going through it and they might have a resource that you can use. But because it is difficult to find that help if you don't have someone to rely on. That's kind of why I've tried to do that with my own studio and my own community. I can't tell you how many women are now like fixing their hormones because we have open conversations. We actually do this thing after class. It's called post-class podcast, and it's like random crap that Megan has to share. But they've uncovered a lot of problems because women are open post-workout. Because of dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin. So those relationships strengthen, plus they feel the calmness and ability to share things that they wouldn't in a normal space.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting, but it is a lot of psychological study, too, I've done.
So people, go to the gym and talk to your friends.
Go to your gym. The end. Done.
I mean,
we can walk out now.
Community itself, just from being with people, can be healing, you know. In your kind of journey in figuring out what is the right way to go with your health and when what was working, what was not working, talking about ChatGPT as a source, how many times did you go through where you went down the wrong rabbit hole, or you feel like, you know, you had that 2-year stretch with that first doctor? How did you know, how did you not give up, and how did you say, like, I just need to find the right person? Because I think a lot of women just give up and say, this is just how it is. No one knows to help me. Yeah. Like, what pushed you forward?
Well, first, and I will take this as criticism or a compliment, I do care what I look like.
Everybody does.
I will not be like, oh, body image doesn't matter. No, I care what I look like. So that's usually my driving force. And if I'm gaining weight and can't figure it out and I don't like what I see in the mirror, I'm going to take action. And that for me is my own personal struggle, but it's also my power. So that was it. That was the thing. I was like, nothing is changing. I'm getting older. Nothing is changing. And then you add in the side effect of my husband. Like we joke. We're both pretty, like, you know, we got together because we thought each other was hot. Right? You don't like pick a spouse because their mind is cute. No, you pick a spouse because you're attracted at a certain level. Mm-hmm. And so if I feel uncomfortable in my own skin, and he feels uncomfortable in his skin, like, you know, we both work together. And so I felt like my sex drive was totally gone. And I couldn't keep up a marriage at that point. Mm-hmm. We were having problems. We'd had problems our entire marriage since my onset of this disease. And not in a way other than sexual. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's important.
It affects everything.
It's so important. But it's so important. And I think that's also one of the things that I didn't realize until it had happened to the point where like it's back, like, and I have it. I'm like, okay, now I get it. But if you're suffering without it, you don't understand what it was like when you had it. So there's probably a disconnect there too. And so, but that was the turning point for me. It was like, I love my husband. I don't want my marriage to end. Not happy with how I feel. There's got to be something else. There's got to be give, or else I'm going to get divorced. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to be even more depressed, even unhealthier, even like going down that rabbit hole of unhealthy habits instead of clinging to the ones that are going to heal me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's an incredible story. Because it's not just affecting you; it's affecting him obviously as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we were getting to the point of being empty nesters. Right? So, like, you think about, okay, I'm going to have to sit across this person, and, like, do I like how he chews? I mean, you know, those are real things. Like, am I going to be able to handle him breathing? I have to like him again. So, I had to have that.
My wife and I are at that stage now. So, our daughter's going to start our youngest is starting college this fall, and our son is pursuing a career as an airline pilot. And we're like, that's where we're like, this is wild, dude. This is, granted, for us, we've worked together from home for like 10 years. So we've already kind of figured that out. But that whole evolution of life's different, man, you know, and so that's super interesting that you bring that, just the timing of it, you know, that that you have to, you know, kind of ensure that you shore things up and do the things you got to do. But that's cool.
Yeah.
So for the women that come to your class, when you're in kind of open sharing and helping them find the right resources and paths, how do you point them in the right direction? Like, how do you know, like, because you have a background in a lot of different other areas and things that you've researched personally that have worked for you. How do you help them find their path where they need to go and not, you know, either point them in the wrong direction or, you know, it's because it's health advice. You always have to be careful with it. How do you point them in the right direction?
And I stay in my scope of practice. I never leave that scope of practice. But then I also talk to them as friends. And so I think women are different too with men. Like, we commonly bond pretty easily together. Like, my girls are my girls, and I would fight and kill for them. Just for like, you know. But when we talk, I listen. And I really have learned how to listen to not just what they're saying, but their body mechanics and how they present, because I can see just in their I don't know how to explain it, but I can see them. So I look at them wholly and listen. And I'm not trying to tell them what's next or what works for me. I'm trying to think about what they need, what's missing. And so then I guide them on that perspective. And it's not always hormones. It's not always a GLP-1. It's not always something like that. Sometimes it's that they need to go to psychology, you know, a psychiatrist and that kind of stuff. And I'm not in a space where I would ever give advice that's not in harmony with what, you know, what I see my scope of practice to being. Like, I need to make that clear. But we are friends on a level that's different. I have a small gym. I have about 60 members, 70 members, and we are tight. So it's a different collective. And I opened that gym for that reason, because I worked at big box gyms for years. Big box gyms, 24-hour fitness. Like, I'm from Vegas originally. So I have seen it all, but it's lacking that community. And so I wanted that community because I really feel that I have the ability and almost the responsibility to help women change their lives. And so that's a big one for me.
Well, there's a lot of experience there, right? And when you're talking to a friend, right, and you're just communicating your experiences and advice or whatever, that's different than providing medical recommendations. You know what I mean? That's not. I don't correlate those two, right? Like you said, you're plugging in these ladies as they are your best friends,
and they are.
So why would you not give them any bit of information or advice or just, you know, sort of an account of what's worked for you to somebody that's such a good friend,
or even the encouragement, you know, don't give up. Like, the answers are out there. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's all that comes from community and friendship. That's really cool what you've built. I was curious how long you've been in business, and you said it's fairly new, or?
Yeah, so I had a studio before. I attempted this before, so I failed once, if not a million times, right? We've been in business since April of 2024, so
Cool.
just a little bit over a year.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really awesome. I mean, there's no better teacher than failure. You know,
Oh, I
like
love it.
trying it until you get it
People
right.
miss that a lot.
Yeah.
They
Like,
only
it's
see the
okay to
successes,
fail.
right?
Yeah, they only see the successes, exactly.
So I have a quick question for you, and it's probably not an easy, it's a broad question. If somebody were to ask you what your definition of wellness is, what would you say?
Wellness. It's a big one. Well, I don't believe there's any stops on the wellness continuum. Like we're either proceeding forward or back. So it's a working.
It's not a static. It's not a static
Stop.
score.
We can't take a break and step off to the side. It's either you're moving forward or you're moving back. I think wellness is an interperspective thing for everybody, not everybody. Like every body is different. I don't necessarily think that wellness is, my definition is the definition of yours. When I talk about my wellness, it means that my mental state, my emotional state, my relationships, my health, my nutrition are all, on the upcline. I do check in regularly with myself as far as all those things go. Just probably, I walk my dogs every day, and that's like my meditation time. And I really think that that's when I check on my spiritual health too. And just, there's so many facets of wellness. That's a really broad question. It really is.
yeah.
But I think there's so many different things that you can be well in or sick in. And so overall wellness is a health in all of those states, but one can suffer while the other ones are thriving. It's just constant check-in. I think for myself, in a wellness state of mind is overall health and not just one area.
Yeah, it's definitely designed to be a broad question.
Yeah, that's a
because
hard
we'd
one.
love to see where people kind of navigate that. One of the things you said was obviously a lot of categories, right? So mental health, physical health, nutrition, so on and so forth. So for anybody that maybe feels like or has self-actualization of to say, hey, this is where I'm at, and I know it's not a good place, right? There's a lot of categories to jump into the pool of wellness, right? To try to move that marker further in the positive direction versus negative. What would you say, or what would you recommend if somebody were to pick a category? And now, granted, with the caveat, everybody's different, right? So I'm going to throw that out there as a disclaimer. I'm not going to say that one size fits all. But for most people, because I have an opinion, but what would you say for one person if I know that this is not where I want to be, and there's too much to say, I got to dial in my nutrition, I got to focus on my mental health, I've got to work out, I've got to sleep right. Where would you start?
Nutrition.
Oh, okay.
What goes into the body?
What goes into the body fuels everything else. But I think movement too. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult one. But I really think that if your doctor's, obviously not looking at your nutrition, your sleep patterns, your exercise, like all those things, then your wellness is going to be off. But nutrition is key. Nutrition is totally key, especially with as many. Watched this commercial this morning about kids going back to school and the lunches, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like right now, I'm not going to talk about what you just put in that lunch because it was,
Garbage.
a commercial for a specific brand of food, which I won't talk about. But it's like that is not even nutrition.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing that I think all of us are still suffering in this country is nutrition.
Well said. I mean, even what you said about the idea of wellness, that if you're not progressing forward, you're regressing. I think that is probably the best answer for wellness we've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very simple rubric. Like if you're not constantly doing things proactively, you're going to age. It's like I forget who said it, but it was, if you aren't going out and doing hard things, like you shouldn't be taking it easy in your 80s. Like you should be getting out in the cold. You shouldn't be getting all snuggly in a blanket and warm and comfortable. Like you should be pushing your body, because otherwise you're just going to start to regress.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that new? This season of the Limitless show with Chris Hemsworth?
I haven't seen that yet.
No, but it's good though.
Super rad. So my daughter was watching it yesterday, which I didn't watch season 1, which I wanted to, but this was like season 2, I guess it just came out. And so the first episode, or the one we're watching, was about basically brain health, right? And one of the big tenets of the entire episode was with your brain, just over time as we age, it shrinks, right? And so obviously if you don't his story, like he found out that he was like predisposed to having Alzheimer's or dementia late in life based on like a genetic screening that he had done. So it kind of changed everything for him, right, in his personal life and career and all that. But with this brain health thing, one of the big tenets of the episode is like you have to you have to push your brain, challenge it. So like his whole thing, he ended up learning how to play the drums so that he could play in a live concert show with Ed Sheeran and one of his buddies, right? And in like 2 months, never having played an instrument in his life, right? And so like to that point though, our bodies are designed to push, not in a fatigue way, not in an exhaustion way, but we have to challenge these systems. We talk about systems a lot, right? This multi-pathway approach to wellness and health and anti-aging and longevity. But like you have to push these systems, you have to challenge them in the capacity that you can. So that kind of brought that up to me where it was like you have to do hard things.
You do have to do
I think it was Gary Brecka actually that said that.
Sounds like him. Yeah. I was teaching a gold class, so if you don't know what gold is, just take out the G. So at the Croc, and I had a lady come up to me, and I would always push my gold people because I'm like, you have to keep doing hard things. You stop moving because you stop moving. That's my theory and my practice. I mean, I will jump until I'm 90, until my body says no. My brain's going to lead. I'm going to let the body follow. But she came up to me and she goes, well, we are only taught to do what we know what we can do. And I was like, oh, what a limiting thought.
Yeah.
You're only going to do what you know you can do. How do you even know what you can do if you didn't challenge it? So I use that constantly with my women too. I'm like, you can't do that. Limiting your thoughts, limiting your ability to reach for more is going to age you. It will automatically age you because society says 50 doesn't look like this. 50 looks like you're a grandma, you have gray hair, you're not doing that stuff anymore. And that's not where we're at, especially with all the resources we have now. Aging is a mindset. I 100% believe that. And I will never let it, like I'm just one of those people, like I'm a natural redhead. So I'm just very stubborn, but I'm never going to let it tell me what I can do. I'm always going to tell it what it's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Dr. Cody talked about the difference between the concept of lifespan, whereas a lot of people just think of life, I just want to live longer, but he actually is a big proponent of health span, where like it's actually the quality of the years that you're adding to your life. Well, he actually says we're really not adding years to our life, right? You're basically going to, your schedule is your schedule, but the quality of those years, so the whole notion of whatever you do with that time, the longer you put off those years where you can't do anything, right? That you're very much incapacitated and all that kind of stuff. So it's just interesting that you say that because like health or age is a number in a lot of ways. And we're seeing that in society. To your point, I mean, nobody looks the age that they did when our parents like the previous generations. Like if you're I'm in my 40s, and like even my kids, they're nice, they're polite. They're like, you don't look like granted, I looked like I was 40 when I was 20, so I've actually like kind of stopped, but my wife, she's 42, she looks like she's like 30, she just always looked young, but like people don't look, I can't imagine looking back like when I was a kid and seeing somebody in their 40s, they probably look like they were 60.
Yeah.
So it's, that isn't just a change in evolution or whatever, right? In a general, like there's something physiological difference, but also too mindset wise, where now we're more active and more engaged in doing things than we ever have been before as a society. Well, a lot of us, right? A lot of people, right? Maybe not everybody, but what I'm getting at is that society is different. It's more active and involved than it was in previous. There's a lot more sedentary stuff, even though you had people working physical labor jobs and so on and so forth, but the active lifestyle stuff wasn't a thing back in the day, right? So I think that all plays out. But yeah, it's interesting how age is just a number, but it's the things that you do to fill that bucket up in that respect to say, okay, I'm going to push that off. I hear that a lot with people, especially like older women, where the whole notion of strength training at later years is like so important because and the caveat, they're like, well, I don't want to do that because I have osteoporosis. Well, that's because you're not lifting heavy stuff, right? So it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that overall, we think as women too that we're just we get into these trends, like the weighted vest thing, and like I'm not even going there. And I'm just gonna
If
say,
you drive around our
oh my
neighborhood,
gosh.
you will see them
I
everywhere.
call it the pre or the perimenopause outfit. Like that's what it is. Like because
funny.
well, you
It's the
can't.
fitness Stanley Cup, is what it is.
Yeah, really. But you can't just put on a weighted vest and think that's enough. So there's still you still need cardio. I read a study. I don't remember what it was. It was like in Runner's World, like probably 15 years ago, and it was talking about all the components of fitness. And they did a study over a span of 20 years, and they still showed that you still have to do everything, people. Like you still need to do cardio. You have to lift weights, and you need mobility work. It's all of those things. It's not just one or the other. And we get into these trends of like, oh, I'm just going to lift heavy. Well, that's great, but did you know that if you lift 70% more of your actual body weight, you're increasing the size of your heart? And the only way to fight that is to do cardio.
Yeah.
So we're taking out things and putting in things based on those trends. And I don't know how I even got on that tangent, but I'm like, you got to do it all. You still have to do it all. It's balance.
Homeostasis.
I follow this guy, Nick Bear, Bear Performance Nutrition. I love him. And his whole thing is this hybrid athlete, right? So his first thing he did when he got out of the military is he became a bodybuilder. And then he's like, that was rad, did that. Now I want to run a marathon. Like nobody does that, you know? And so now the whole notion behind his entire company is that where it's like this hybrid athlete. And I love that because I think that is the answer. Like it's a combination of a lot of things in the right formula and right recipe for you. You go back to that, what you said earlier, where everybody's recommendation or framework might be a little bit different, but it incorporates a lot of different things, you know? And that's, I think, the important. I think people want that one thing, that one, you know, whether it's, I want to take this shot, or I want to, you know, do this, I want to try that type of workout, or I'm going to go on this kind of diet. You know, we talked about it before, like, is it carnivore? Is it vegan? Is it, you know, GLP-1s? Is it CrossFit? Is it, you know, endurance? Like, it's all of it.
Which can
all
be
of it.
overwhelming.
Which can be overwhelming.
And so my suggestion for that would be to find one exercise that you love and stick with it. Because if you start there, everything else will trickle.
Everything's
into
easier.
place.
Yeah.
Just find something you love. Don't hate going to a workout every day. Like if you,
You won't go.
So
you won't
true.
go.
When I was in college, I had a 6 a.m. Weight training class, and I didn't go because I didn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. and it was lifting weights, and I got a D in that class. So that ought to show you that, like, if it's not set up, you're not setting yourself up for success, you're not gonna have success. So.
Yeah, I'm not
That's funny.
showing up to any 6 a.m. class, and I know that about myself, so why would I even say that I'm going to? Yeah.
I was dumb. I was in college. It made sense. Cool. Well, I have one more question for you before we wrap up. I think we talked about it a little bit before we jumped in, and that is one of the things that again we talk about with our brand and everything we do is this anti-aging movement, this overall wellness and longevity movement. And within that, we kind of talked about bits and pieces of it too, with regards to coming up with a system and a structure to your overall wellness that incorporates a lot of different things. That also kind of buttons into the framework of what we talk about a lot with like our products and kind of what we do from a supplementation standpoint, which is this multi-pathway activation. So, and I know I primed you a little bit before the podcast, but I want to get your take on it. So when somebody asks you, like from the standpoint of wellness, supplementation, health, nutrition, and so on, what is multi-pathway activation? What does that mean to you?
So I think nutrition is definitely in there. Supplementation, like we have so many different things now on the market, and peptides are coming to be such a huge role. They're already present in your body. I'm not going to push peptides, but I think that multi-pathways is looking at all the different options that we have. I am a proponent of using it all. Like movement is a pathway. I mean, you make dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin if you work out together. Like those things you can't get through antidepressants alone. Like your body is its own antidepressant factory. So movement for sure. Nutrition, I said, you have to look at your nutrition. If you're not doing that right, everything else is off. Sleep is a huge pathway. One. I mean, if we're not resetting at night, and women sleep horribly. My husband sleeps so bad, I don't even know how he's still alive. Because I'm like, how are you even going to...
My wife sleeps, her sleep is terrible.
Well, that's hormones. We can talk later. Then I think it's relationships too. I think that one of those things that I've found in my life, that if my relationships are off, especially being the person I am, it affects my sleep. It affects my nutrition. It affects my movement, especially family relationships. Like I've had some hard things with kids. Like my children are adults now, but they're hard to raise as adults. Adult children suck.
You get less control over their
you've
choices.
lost complete control. You have nothing. They don't even listen to you anymore.
Yeah, we're on that
good luck.
doorstep. Yeah.
But relationships are big. I think that it's just all those facets of wellness, which are exactly those pathways. And all the supplementation in the world can't fix a bad diet. But I think that most of that stems from that. Because even if you exercise, you're not going to get the same, you can't push. You know, like we can talk about all the different things of creatine versus testosterone, you know, like we can go down those pathways, but your exercise will be affected by nutrition, and so does your sleep and like all that stuff. But it's just it's a multitude of things. I don't think you can just look at one thing and be like, this is wellness. So that is wellness. I think that the multiple pathways is wellness.
I actually love that answer. Like that taking that framework and putting it into somebody's life, because we talk about that from like literally. The core tenet behind, you know, Kimmy Wellness and the Ageless Pursuit Project was like, how do we like educate people that supplementation, because that industry is like very linear, right? If you want energy, you take a pre-workout. If you want, you want to build muscle, you take protein. If you want to, XYZ, right? Like it's very linear, right? And so we've tried to educate people on the notion of like within supplementation specifically, it doesn't have to be that way. You can take something that then activates all these different categories of your body and all the systems. But I love how you took that question and turned it into a story of life.
It is.
And that's rad. Like that is probably the coolest answer I've heard yet, as far as like taking that sort of that structure, that framework, but applying that to your life. And that's actually really cool.
I'm glad you like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like, no idea what I was answering.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I don't think we've really talked about the people component of it, the idea of connection and relationship
huge.
building and friendship, and what that does for people's lives.
Especially in digital age, man. We still crave community, right?
We do.
COVID.
We're built for it.
Post-COVID.
COVID.
Oh my gosh! And then I see all these girls.
Cataclysmic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it's going to happen to our kids. Like anyway, but I see all these girls now go to the gym and they go by themselves. I'm like, you're so missing the connection that you get in a class, or taking a buddy to go with you, and they have their headphones on and they're like in their apps. I'm like, great, but you're missing the other component of fitness, and it's those relationships.
I can speak personally. Emily is torn up if she misses your class. She loves your class. My wife, Emily.
With her foot, I'm like, oh, girl.
I know, her poor foot. She keeps getting in battles with stairs. She doesn't get along with them very well. But yeah, she can't wait to get back because she really looks forward to your class every week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, on that bombshell.
There it is.
Come to class. I'm just kidding.
There you go. Yeah.
It's my plug.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming today, and telling us a little about you and your story. And I think the takeaway is really powerful. Like if you're not progressing with your health and your wellness, you're regressing, and the importance of connection with people and building relationships. I think that's some good stuff to walk away with.
I like that.
Cool. Yeah, that's what I've always said about myself. I don't sell fitness. I sell connections.
That's rad.
Love it. Well, thanks a lot.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Yep. All right, fellas. Thank you.